Today I want to talk about the importance of mindset in losing weight. My son I've talked about before, who is GCSEs next year, and he's sitting a Latin exam on Monday after half term, and getting him to do any revision, as I've spoken about before, is an absolute nightmare. We've tried everything we can think of. We've tried helping him do a revision plan and then factoring in rest time and time for his computer, and then I remind him when those times are due. We have tried suggesting that we help him with his Latin vocabulary and his verbs, and if he goes through a section of them, and then that evening we'll go through and just test him and see how well he's done. I've tried working with him or suggesting that I work with him. We have tried sitting down with him and saying, what's the problem here? What is the problem? What's stopping you from actually making a start on this revision? And we've just tried everything basically, and nothing is working. And short of padlocking him to his desk and putting the work in front of him, I'm not sure what else we can try. And I'm in conversation with his fantastic teacher at school, even though it's half term. How amazing is that? And discussing our concerns about this. And she sent back an email last night that I thought is so much like people who struggle to diet. She said in her email, I think that Alex has decided that he can't do this and that he's not going to pass it. And I thought, yes, that's exactly it. When we talked to him about it, he talks about how he's only been doing it for a few months, where everyone else has been doing it for a lot longer. It's a club he's joined. He's talked about how although he's very interested in languages, he has never felt capable of doing French, which he is also studying, and has convinced himself he's going to fail at his French GCSE next year. And I thought, I hear this a lot with dieters. I hear an awful lot of I knew I couldn't stick to it, or I have never been able to diet very well. Or when people first come, I hear this is my last chance, I've tried everything else, nothing else works. And both Alex and those sorts of people who make comments like that with dieting are coming from exactly the same thinking, if you like, or mindset. And there is something called, which I'm sure I've spoken to you about before, growth mindset. And it's from someone called Carol Dweck, who's devised it. She's a American psychologist, and she has devised two types of thinking. There is growth mindset, and then there is fixed mindset. So Alex, with his comments, I just can't do it. I'm no good at it. I haven't been doing it for long enough. I'm no good at French anyway, so why would I be any good at this? That comes from a fixed mindset way of thinking. And our challenge with him, although it's a little bit late in the day now because it's only a few days away to the exam, but moving forwards into his GCSE year, so looking at this also from the perspective of my growth mindset, rather than being a fixed mindset of, God, he's going to fail, and he's going to fail all of his GCSEs because of this way of thinking. I'm coming at this from a growth mindset perspective of what can I learn from the struggles he's been going through that means that I can help him move forwards with hopefully doing a lot better with next year's GCSEs. So from the one hand, the thinking of fixed mindset is either I'm either good at it or I'm rubbish at it, which is where he's at the moment. And the growth mindset is, well, I can learn anything I want to. Another example is he's getting very frustrated with himself because he's not remembering. He feels he's not remembering things. So that sort of thinking is, when I'm frustrated, I just give up. Whereas from a growth mindset perspective, when I get frustrated, I persevere, and he certainly isn't persevering at the moment. He'll do a token 20 minutes if anything, and then it's just, you can see his heart's just not in it because he's feeling so frustrated, feels he can't do it. He's certainly not enjoying being challenged, whereas which is very fixed mindset, which is growth mindset comes from the angle of I want to challenge myself, and when I'm not able to do something, I will learn how to. Whereas his perspective is I'm just no good at this, and he is certainly not enjoying the challenge at all. In fact, he's pushing away the challenge and just not revising. So you can see lots of analogies here with dieting, how if you have one blip, it's easy to think to yourself, I knew I couldn't diet. This is yet another diet I've tried that I failed at. Whereas if you have a blip, then actually a better and more helpful way of thinking of this is, okay, how am I going to help myself to persevere? What have I got to learn from this? What can I challenge myself with here to make changes with? And how can I try harder? How can I learn more? And that sort of thinking. Do you get where I'm coming from? The shift that we have to make with Alex's thinking is from that fixed mindset way of thinking about his Latin to a growth mindset of I can do anything. And part of the challenge, I suspect, with Alex and with dieters is a past history, if you like. Alex will be basing his judgment of his ability to do Latin on his past experiences of his struggles with French, even though one of the things he loves to do is to teach himself a language, something he's very interested in doing. So he's taught himself I mean, I'm laughing because I think it's absolutely bonkers, really, that he's at a state where he feels like he can't do the Latin and French, and yet he's taught. He can't speak it fluently, but he can tell you lots and lots about Dutch, and also Norwegian. He finds those two languages absolutely fascinating, and so he decided he's going to learn how to speak it. Oh my lord, so he can speak languages, it's just he's talked himself into a way of thinking about it that he can't. And so our challenge with him is to address his self-esteem, and that's clearly an ongoing thing that we're going to have to work with him, is looking at all the things that he can do. So if you're struggling a bit with dieting or getting your head back in the gear, of that way of thinking, then try thinking of all the things that you have achieved in the past, rather than having that fixed mindset of I can't do it. Think of all the times that you, even if it's in this time of dieting, and you've maybe lost a stone, and that now you're possibly struggling a little bit. Think about, well, that you did lose that stone and you had enormous success in losing that stone, and it's about replicating those patterns of behaviour and that way of thinking that you were in at that time. So it's very much about coming at it from the angle of the effort that you put in will determine the outcome, and that's what growth mindset is all about, as opposed to thinking that your abilities at something are going to determine the end result, which is nonsense. We all have the ability to learn. Hope that helps.